All right, here we go, ladies and gents. How's my mic? Do I sound okay? Do I sound stuffy at all? No? All right, good. That's what we like to hear. Well, I'm super excited to have everybody here. Introduced myself earlier, MC guy Jake. High energy, that's what I want to be. I want to be electric. I want to get you guys a bunch of knowledge. And I want to talk about AI and how it impacts the world ahead, right? We're in this cool age of a new world where we have these tools like ChatGPT and all this other stuff that can assist you and make you more effective and really 10x your leverage. I'm a software guy. I'm a coder, and it's transforming the coding industry. Honestly, I write 10 times less code than I used to, and I write it 10 times faster. It's the coolest thing ever. We have this autocomplete. I can say, hey, chat, write me a function that does this. And man, it does it for me, and it's great. And it honestly helped me start my company. It did so much for me. It gets that learning curve from 0 to 80 to 90% really fast. So just at a high level, AI is a force multiplier, allowing you to learn faster, do more, do better. So yes, there are a lot of impacts on recruiting, retention, and burnout. But before I get into that, I want to tell you guys who I am, a little bit about me. So a long time ago, back when I was like 12 or 13, my cousin Chris, who's in the back, was doing notes on Christmas. He'll say Thanksgiving, but I'm pretty sure it was Christmas. And I'm like, hey man, one day AI will do that for you. He was a traveling PT, fresh out of college, and he was in Arizona, California, Florida, all over the States, and he'd always come home for the holidays and was doing notes. Hey Chris, one day AI will help you with that. Put that in your back pocket. My dad was an IT guy, so I always loved computers. He was bringing monitors home and all these laptops. I always had computery stuff around me. And so from a young age, I liked computers. So at 12, I made my first iPhone app. It was a super simple baseball tracking app. So my mom had an iPhone. She was able to keep the score, the innings, the out, all of it on her phone at my baseball games. And I'm like, oh, this is so cool. This is great. I'm going to submit it to the App Store. I'm going to be a millionaire. Well, I was going to charge 99 cents for a super simple app. Apple denies it, saying it's too simple. 12-year-old Jake is sad, but that's all right. I kept going. I ended up making a whack-a-mole game after that. Whatever. Fast forward a little bit, and you see that's me on a jet ski. My dad had these old stand-up jet skis from the 80s that he thought were cool back in the day, but they sat for 10 years. Hadn't run in 10 years. And I'm like, Dad, you should get these running for me. I would love to ride it. Like, this would be so much fun. I remember when I was a little kid, I used to ride them, but not anymore. And he's like, well, I'm too busy, man. Do it yourself. All right, fine. 14-year-old me, ignorant as I was optimistic about my probability to do it. So I started tearing down the engines, and I put it back together, and it still didn't work. And I tear it down again and put it back together. Still didn't work. Tear it down, put it back together, and it works. And I'm like, okay, so the internet is my best friend. I can learn just about anything via that, and you just got to keep trying. Just keep going. I ended up flipping. I've had 20 or so jet skis by now. That was kind of a phase of my life from age 14 to 18. When I was in my parents' garage, I was flipping jet skis. So much fun. I'd buy them on Facebook, not running. I'd fix them, make crazy money. Crazy money for a kid. I'd make $1,000. It was great. Super fun. Fast forward a little bit more. I went to RIT, Rochester Institute of Technology, for computer engineering. Big coder guy. I had access to all these great tools, thousands of dollars worth of tools, and I'm like, how can I use these tools to do something cool, make something fun, and maybe make some money? So I'm like, okay, how do I use my brain more than my body? I don't want to trade time for money. I want to do a lot of work up front and then make a lot of money on the back. So I made these cocktail table arcade cabinets. There's a screen in the middle, sheet of glass on top, controllers on both sides. And you could play Frogger, Pac-Man, all those like retro games with your friends, and it would switch over 180 degrees. And I could sell them for $1,000, and it cost me like $200 to make them. That's awesome. Spent probably 200 hours making the designs, writing all the CAD software for it, and then I could cut them on a machine that RIT had. I'd load in a full sheet of plywood, and it would spit out all the wood. All I had to do was assemble it. Well, assembling it still took like 20 hours. And so if I'm making $800, 20 hours, my hourly wage is, there's an hourly wage there. It's not infinite money. So I went back, and I'm like, okay, what else could I do to try to make some money? Like, what's super high leverage? So I really got into trading stocks with code. That was going to be my thing. I'm going to figure out how to make 1% per day trading stocks with code. And I'm like, that's got to be it. That'll work. Well, I got in this phase where it was kind of analysis paralysis. I couldn't get it to work, but I thought I could. And I'm like, all right, I just need to send it on the market. So I put 200 bucks in an investment account, and I'm like, all right, Mr. AI man, what should I do? And it told me to short Zoom. So I shorted Zoom, and turns out Zoom goes 20% that day for some odd reason. I lose all my money in a matter of 5 minutes, and my AI trading career kind of went down the tubes right away. Was never able to crack that, so I got a normal job after college. During college, though, I was in the rowing team. So I enjoyed getting up early at 6 a.m. every day, maybe 5 a.m. I'd go out on the water, we'd be rowing, a lot of fun, but early, very early. Taught me a lot about discipline, putting in a lot of hard work, dedication. I was always athletic and sporty and stuff, so I always enjoyed athletics, but super fun. I was a captain of that for a few years and really just enjoyed the water. But after college, I got a job at Moog, where I was writing flight code for top secret military planes and satellites that are going to shoot down hypersonic missiles from space with lasers. Really, really, really cool stuff, right? The future of the world. But in reality, I was just a cog in the machine. I was a code monkey. I was just writing code all day for something that I wasn't going to see for 20 years, and the general population wasn't going to know about for 40. All this top secret stuff, which is whatever. But it wasn't all that fulfilled. So I went through my Rolodex of ideas, and this is where the first story comes to play. I was like, oh yeah, Chris, you still do notes? Chris, do you still do notes now? No, he doesn't. Oh, that's great. I wonder why. I'm sure you'll learn about that later. But at the time, when I was going through my Rolodex, he was like, yeah, notes still suck. And I'm like, okay, I got you. This is now October of 2022. Great. I had been working my job for a few years. Was bored, pretty much. I had all this free time. I'm like, wow, I have all this free time. I'm not in college anymore. I should go do something on the side. So I was going to help Chris with his notes. So I made this proof of concept of an app that would listen to the conversation between him and his patient and use AI to write all his notes. I'm like, oh, that could be pretty cool. So my mom had broken her right humerus. Chris comes over, does a sample evaluation on her while my program is recording. And in a computerized voice, it asks, ask me any question. And Chris says, where was the injury? And it says right humerus. And he's like, oh, that's clever. Let me give it a hard one. Write me a SOAP note. And it spits out this beautifully articulate SOAP note. And he's like, dude, I spend like 15 minutes for every visit doing this. If you could do this, like, you'll save me so much time. You'll change the world. And that's what we've been doing for now 2.5 years. So a little bit about me. I want to give you a little background on my AI history, how I got into PT. That's the origin story on Comprehend, and that's how we got here. So let's talk about AI a little bit. I know burnout, retention, all that, that'll come next. But before we jump into that, I do want to talk about AI. It's definitely the trendiest buzzword of 2023, 2024, now 2025. And I truly believe it will have a massive impact on society and the world as a whole and humanity. It's a really cool thing. And I'm not a huge crypto guy. That's not my thing. This whole Web3, like, that was kind of the precursor to AI, the trendy buzzword of 2018, 2019. I wasn't a fan of all that crypto stuff. AI is different. AI is not just a bubble. It truly is going to transform the way we work and transform the way we interact with computers. And it will be a massive lever for society. So what is AI? Well, it's the idea that computers can think like humans, right? We can train a computer to understand the real world and do something for us. And so whether it's pattern recognition to trade stocks or ChatGPT where I can talk to it like it's a human, those are all different forms of AI. And there's different subsets within that I'll get into, but that's a high level what is AI. It's using perception, reasoning, learning, massive data sets to try to predict some outcome. So like I said, for stocks, right? What is the stock price going to be tomorrow? My senior project for school was a stock trading algorithm that could predict tomorrow's high, low, open, close, and volume for a specific stock given 15 days of data within 5%. And it worked. I could actually predict tomorrow's high, low, open, close, and volume within 5% using my algorithm. Turns out that isn't that useful, because if you guess yesterday's prices, you're probably going to be within 5%. So not actionable. There is this normal AI, very task-specific. I'm going to write this bot that does one thing, and it's going to do it way better and faster, but it's constrained. If there's any sort of curveball you throw at it, it's going to fail. That's very task-specific, localized AI. Then there's this idea of general intelligence, this AGI, artificial general intelligence. You ask it to do something, and it just goes off and does it. It doesn't need to be this task-specific thing that's coded for specifically for shoulder evals. When they come in, we're going to insert these specific keywords in, and it'll be really good for shoulder evals, but nothing else. Instead, we can say, hey, chat, write me a poem, a haiku, to my mother for Mother's Day. I live in Buffalo, New York, so tie in the bills, and it's just going to spit me out a haiku. That's more of a general AI. Now, this term, artificial general intelligence, is a technical term. And we haven't reached that general intelligence stage yet, but we're very close. Chat can do a lot of things well, but it's still a lot of verbiage, a lot of text. Right? That's what it's good at. We're going to get to a world where there's robots, and you ask them to go make butter, and it'll go on it'll go to the store, come back with buttermilk, and it'll shake it for you, and then boom, here's your butter. That'd be crazy. That's a cool world ahead, but that's what artificial general intelligence really promises. And we're not there yet. We don't know if we'll get there anytime soon, but we have a lot of useful tools that we've made along the way. If we go back in time a good bit, in the early 1950s, there were these code breakers during, I think, World War II. And there's this guy, Alan Turing. If you guys have seen The Imitation Game, one of my favorite movies, really good, talks about really early computers and how they were able to crack the German codes using computers. At the time, they coined this term, the Turing test. And that's the ability for a human to differentiate what's AI generated versus what isn't. And ChatGPT, you really can't tell the difference at all. In the early days, it was like, oh, once we get to this place where you can pass the Turing test, computers are going to take over. Yeah, no. Computers haven't taken over yet. Maybe they have, and they're just slowly eating away at society, but not yet. It was always to mimic human behavior. You had these master code breakers that could do it by hand. Given enough time and resources, a human could crack the code. It would just take too long. And so can we replicate what they're doing using a computer, using all these cylinders and gears, and early computers were like that. We slowly got in the world of silicon graphics and these microcomputers, and honestly, your phone has more compute power than the Apollo 11 mission that went to the moon. So interesting. If we continue to progress through time, the term AI was coined at Dartmouth in 1956. And then in 1997, IBM's Deep Blue beat the world chess champion. That was an interesting thing because a human doesn't want to believe, I am the best human in the world. There's no way no computer could ever beat me at this. And then all of a sudden, it's beating somebody. And he ended up conceding. He didn't actually lose. He decided he was done because he knew it was in his fate. But it was an interesting find, right? All of a sudden, computers can be better than humans at task-specific things. Fast forward a little bit more. In 2016, Google's AlphaGo beat the Go world champion. Go is a similarly complex game with thousands of permutations, billions of permutations of moves that could happen, so you can't brute force the game. You can't run every outcome and decide what has the best probability of winning. You have to think more strategically. And so that's why it was such an impressive feat that they were able to build this. And then in 2022, ChatGPT comes out in November, and it was able to get 1 million users in 5 days. That's the fastest ever. For reference, Facebook took 10 months and was the one right before it. So it was just adding so much value so quickly, and people were all of a sudden able to get value very easily because it wasn't very task-specific. You could ask for a letter to your mom. You could ask for a job listing. ChatGPT can do all of that at a few keystrokes. Other instances of AI in your daily life, so smart home stuff, right? I have this in my room. I can say, Alexa, turn on my lights. Alexa, turn off my lights. Still task-specific, but some people coin that as AI. We have Siri, Alexa, Google, all that. You can talk with this thing that can do a lot for you. You can set timers. It can tell you the time, tell you the weather. All those are rudimentary forms of AI. The recommendation algorithm in TikTok. How do you think these kids, these freaking Gen Zers are doom scrolling all day? I might be a Gen Zer. But they're doom scroll, and that's because the AI kind of is able to intuit what they're going to like most and what's going to be the most important thing next. Navigation, optimal routing. So Google came out with their Google Maps. You're able to get where you want to go in the most optimal way. That's a really hard problem to solve because there's 30 different routes for you to get to where you want to go. Which one's the fastest, given traffic data, all this stuff. All different forms of AI, still task-specific. And then even the autonomous driving stuff. So yes, I have a Tesla. It's really, really cool. It almost killed me a few times, but yes, It will drive for you. It'll be going along, and it'll make your left, it'll make your right, it'll stop, it'll accelerate, and occasionally try to kill you. I had the car for not 2 weeks, and I'm testing out this full self-driving thing, and it's about to make a left across traffic. There's cars coming both ways, and it decides it's going to stop right in the middle. And it's like a highway. They're both going 55. It's just beeping at you, take over, take over, take over. Okay, I'll get on the throttle and get myself out of there. But almost killed me 2 weeks after I got the car. Whatever. Robotic process automation. This is kind of the key that I like. It's a term, technical term, that talks about using robots to do a specific process, right? It's that Turing test thing. Code breakers could do it manually. Let's use computers to do it automatically. Robotic process automation, let's automate the whole thing. Data entry, scheduling, all of these things are things that computers can do for you. For instance, I use a tool called Calendly. I don't book any of my own meetings. I simply send people a link and like, hey, grab a slot that works for you. And then my calendar gets full. It works out perfect. That's one example. Data entry, billing, all of that can be helped with AI. Machine learning is another subset of AI. So that's where you have a large data set. So say it's the entire stock market history since 1920. We can load that entire data set into an algorithm that's going to try to predict the price for tomorrow. Now, it's a lot more complex than that. You need more than just that data, but it's going to try. It's going to try to do this thing with a neural network where there's all these weights and you don't really need to know any of that stuff, but it's going to try to predict tomorrow's price. That's machine learning. The more data you give it, generally the more accurate it will be if there is a trend to be had. And the way it's designed, it's going to find trends that you wouldn't have known or been able to figure out yourself. Okay, very cool. Talking about neural networks and large language models. A large language model is the technology that ChatGPT is built upon. It's this idea that if we give computers the entire internet, they're going to be able to predict human language. And so in reality, it's something like ChatGPT is just predicting the most likely next word. And so if I say once, it might say upon and then a time, right? It's just predicting the most likely next word. It's not much more than that at the moment, but given the entire Internet of Things, it's able to say, okay, yeah, I saw on Reddit that 90% of the time after once, it's upon a time. And so the AI knows to say that next, right? That's all it's doing when you see it building and scrolling through. It's just predicting the most likely next word. And it's able to do that using the internet. So the early versions of large language model and ChatGPT were kind of degenerates because they were trained on Reddit, and Reddit has a lot of data. And so you'd see all these degenerate comments, and it was very derogatory. And there was even one instance where, I want to say it was like 2016, and Twitter had let loose this bot. You could ask it anything. And people were getting it to say such outlandish things, and you could spur it to do that. And people were like, oh no, we got to pull this back. That was the early version, 2016, 2018. It was saying some very derogatory things about World War II, about politics. It was really bad. I can find some examples if you're interested, but they were very derogatory. Early versions had that. Now there's a little bit of censorship, guidance, trying to make it not as much of a degenerate. Other examples of these large language models, we have OpenAI, that's chat, that's Microsoft. We have Google's Gemini, very similar technology. All this stuff is relatively open source. And so you're seeing this massive increase in speed and technology. It goes so fast because there aren't any patents. And so all these other competitors, Google, Microsoft, Apple, are all at each other's throats trying to make the next best thing. And they're all actually making each other's models better. And so we've seen this rapid evolution of AI and these large language models because we're all working together secretly. We have OpenAI, that's Microsoft, Google, and Anthropic is Amazon's bet. So we have all these big data players that are trying to figure out how do we make the most money off of these large language models and provide the most value. Okay, so we've talked about that. We love AI. AI is the coolest thing. Now, how can you guys leverage it? What is the right way to do it for you? Well, from a recruiting standpoint, you have a lot of Gen Zers who love their work-life balance. They want to believe in the culture of the clinic. They want to see you're trending. Well, if you guys are leveraging AI yourself, talk about it. Put that in your job applications. They really believe in I'm a Gen Z, so hopefully there's no Gen Zers out there taking offense to anything that I'm saying, but use that verbiage in your job postings. And when you're making your job postings, use ChatGPT to make them for you, right? Just put in a high level, this is what I want in there, and it's going to spit out something super useful for your job postings. They're used to using AI, and so they're going to love to see that you guys are using it too in whatever way that you are. Whether it's for AI scribe stuff like we do, where it's going to do your notes for you, or you let them use chat to research some stuff. There's some really cool models out there that will research relevant history, relevant research about physical therapy, and it will cite most recent papers. Very cool stuff. They're used to using it in college. So there are a lot of like plagiarism reporters that will block AI, and that's true. But college kids are so used to using it for getting educated fast, right? It's that 0 to 80% education thing. You're able to get educated so fast. Yeah, the last 20% it isn't great at. It's usually going to lead you astray in the expert stuff. But it's going to get you up to speed knowing a lot really fast. And then it's up to you to really take that knowledge and run with it if you want to be an expert in the field. And that's what they're doing in college. They'll love that you're doing it too. It's kind of accepted in young people's minds that AI is the future. They know it's coming. They know it's going to transform the industry. They want to be part of a culture that is embracing that. You're not worried about, oh yeah, like I only have 2 more years. I don't need it yet. They want to be part of a culture where, yes, you're building people, you're empowering them, they're using tools to help them be more effective and have a better work-life balance. I've been talking to some of the larger players in the space, like Quoras and Confluence, and they're trying to decide if AI is going to be table stakes in the coming days. Like, is every clinic going to have AI in order to hire anybody? Is it going to be that much of a differentiator for clinics where I don't want to work at a place if I have to spend 3 hours after work doing my notes or do my notes at all? We believe in a world where clinicians show up, help people get better, and go home. Why should a clinician who got into physical therapy to help people get better have to do more than that? And in 20 years, we're going to look back and say, oh, that's barbaric. People used to write on paper, when in reality, it's like, yeah, that's how we got here. Like I said, people got into physical therapy to help people get better. You're all DPTs, you're all physical therapists. For the most part, I assume 90+% are. I assume you got into physical therapy, not for the money, but to help people get better. Yes, money's a nice side habit of it. You're all entrepreneurial, so that was part of your drive, but you chose physical therapy so you could help people get better. People chose medicine in general so they could help people get better, but instead you're spending 1/3 of your day doing documentation. What if we could give that back to you? There's no more admin work. You never have to touch a laptop or a computer or an iPad. You walk into the clinic, you help people get better, and you go home. You're doing the manual manipulation. AI is guiding you with relevant research from the trailing 18 months. All of that happens automatically. Imagine that world. That's the world that we're trying to make happen and that we're going to see in the next 5 to 10 years. So if you embrace it early, ingrain that into your people, they're going to love that. They're going to appreciate your forward-thinkingness, your visionariness, and they'll want to be part of your team even when they might get paid less. That's the table stakes thing. Is Quora and Confluent, are all these big players going to have it and you won't? Or are some big players going to have it, some won't? We'll see. Maybe you have to pay more if you don't have it. Who knows? The idea is if we can reduce the admin work that every clinician is doing, let them do more of what they love, they're going to enjoy their job more, they're going to show up happier, recharge, and be willing to help more people get better. Maybe they'll pick up an eval here or there, but in reality, they're going to have better care. They're going to be more hands-on, face-to-face with their patient. Happier clinicians is better care. One interesting stat that we found, and I actually didn't expect this one. This wasn't ever like a sales trade or a sales tactic or anything, but we were in a large clinic. We were working with Upstream, and they noticed that their no-shows after evals went down. A 30% decrease in no-shows after evals when they started to implement AI tools that allowed them to be more hands-on with their patients. Interesting find. I wouldn't have expected that, but yes, they were so head down, hands on a keyboard during their evals that they were losing people. And so there was actually this 30% reduction in no-shows after eval. This is a super interesting stat. I did not expect that at all. That was a metric they were tracking that I didn't even have on my radar. And they're like, yeah, dude, this is a crazy stat. You should totally use this. And I love that. We've made a tool that allows people to really understand their patient, talk to them, empathize. One downside of that was at that specific clinic, DPTs only did evals. And so, unfortunately, whenever the person came back, they're like, I only want to see her. I only want to see Poonam. I don't want to see anybody else. Because they had developed such this connection in this 45 minutes, hour that they had with the patient. Because, yeah, they were fully hands-on. They were talking the whole time, learning about their life, not focused on their computer at all. Totally interesting stat. That's the downside, but also the upside. That 30% decrease in no-shows after evals increases your LTV per patient. And so you're able to, imagine if you didn't have to get more patients. You just made more money on the ones that did show up. You helped more people get better. It's not all about money, but if we're able to increase the value that you're adding for patients, that's a win. Burnout. Burnout sucks. Sometimes I feel burnt out. But what I will say is I get burnt out when I'm not doing what I love. If I have to do something that's draining, that drains my energy, versus when I do something that gives me energy, if I'm speaking to you guys or talking to somebody or just helping people, delighting people, I get energized by that. I could do that all day long. I could do 16-hour days if all I get to do is delight people. That sounds fun to me. If I had to do 6 hours of, now I hate marketing. I absolutely just despise marketing. I despise selling. If I had to sit on Facebook ads for more than 6 hours a day, I would get burnt out after a week. So there's this idea that burnout isn't about working too much. Burnout's about doing what you hate. If you're forced to do that kind of thing, that will absolutely burn you out. But if you got to do more of what you love, what would that do? We have one person that says, yeah, documentation was the reason that I left the field. I retired because I had to spend a third of my day doing admin. Up to a half, he was a clinic owner, so half of his day was spent doing admin work. If he could just help people get better all day, like he'll do that forever. So, I don't know, maybe that's true, maybe it's not, but I definitely feel to myself, if I'm doing something new and exciting and fun, I'm not burnt out. I'll work 16 hours, I'll stay up till 4 a.m. coding because I'm making a difference. It's what I love. But if I have to do Facebook ads, no thank you. There's this idea that people don't like doing notes. It's mentally draining. I've talked about the burnout side of that, but if you get them to do more of what they love, get them bought in that, they won't be burnt out. They won't be second guessing themselves. They won't be context switching. They'll be doing just the bare bones. They'll be doing what they were trained to do. Another interesting stat that we found was after-hour documentation reduced by 90% when they implemented our solution. Super cool stat. Also not one that we were really tracking, but it's hilarious looking at we get a curve of how often people are using it, and it's like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and the weekend comes and, I don't know, we have like 5% of our users logged in. I'd love to see that. That just means people are not doing stuff on weekends. They're able to spend more time with their family, more time doing what they love, less time doing this admin stuff. And I have a testimonial from one of my folks. They touch on all the things that I've talked about, and it's one thing when I say it, it's another thing if you hear it from one of your own. We'll see how our video does.
Hi, my name is Marcy Silverberg. I'm the owner of Pelvic Path Physical Therapy, and I just wanted to come on here and say what a game changer it has been to use Comprehend as an AI scribe in my practice. I was feeling so tired and sick of doing paperwork, and to cut down on my paperwork time significantly and get a note done in a few clicks has been such a game changer. My staff has also absolutely loved it. They're absolutely less burnt out. I feel like I could retain them better. I don't have to pay them for like extra documentation time at home now. And honestly, I feel like I could use this as a recruiting tool, that our documentation time is like 5 to 10 minutes per day, or 5 minutes for an evaluation is an amazing recruitment tool for a new physical therapist as well. Lastly, I'll say that the onboarding process with the Comprehend team has been very much like high level, like white glove. I felt like they were always there to answer any of my questions and make using the tool really seamless and easy. It helped me along the way. I couldn't recommend Comprehend anymore. I absolutely love it.
Didn't pay her to say that, which is great. Love to see that. That's just one example of how AI can transform a workflow. It's one thing to use it for what we do, and I think what we do is great. But if you're using ChatGPT, a free tool to write your job postings, to analyze prospects' resumes, it can do just about anything these days, and highly recommend you use this free tool to do more of what you love. Yeah, super excited about it. Matt, do you have anything you want to add to that? I know you had volunteered potentially. All right, can we get a mic over to him? He's got it. Thank you. Matt's one of our customers now. Super excited that he was willing to come out and get some knowledge from the rest of the crew, but yeah, love Matt.
Yeah, so I am sure I have a similar story to all of you in trying to run a practice and I see a full patient caseload. I see about 100 patients a week, trying to run a practice on top of that, and it just would always get to Friday night, and I'd have 100 notes to do. I took a picture of me early on, and we used to do paper notes, and I would have a stack this high of notes to do, and I'm sure you guys can all relate. I was a little bit skeptical that AI could actually produce an effective SOAP note or an eval note, and it took me quite a bit of time to just kind of get over that edge to trust it and to try it. But I've now been using Jake and Comprehend for probably about 6 months, and I mean this sincerely. It has changed my life. In that my documentation time probably has gone from, I bet I spent 5 hours a week doing documentation, and I probably could get all those 100 notes done now in 45 minutes to an hour. Like, it has significantly reduced my time in doing documentation, which then allows me to be a better manager, a better boss, a better owner of the company. And so I think I have a lot of younger clinicians, and this is like a game changer. Like, they absolutely want this. They want to go home at the end of the day. They don't want to do notes on the weekend. And so me being able to pitch this, that I have this when I'm trying to recruit people, it's a game changer. So I literally can't say enough about it. If you want to come and ask me about it, I'm happy to do that. But I would highly recommend this. It's been a game changer for me.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it. You can give that to Michelle. This is just one super localized use of AI, right? We're doing it specifically for notes. Imagine if you could apply that across your entire business, right? Imagine if you used it for your social media management. Imagine if you used it to your bookkeeping. Imagine the world ahead, right? I want to open your minds to the possibility of the tools that will be coming very soon. So just think about it, right? Today, you can use ChatGPT to do so much. And if you have a good idea, assume that somebody else is working on it too, and you could really transform the way you run your clinic using tools. So I will show off Comprehend a little bit more, but it's this idea that we can allow clinicians to prioritize your patients rather than your documentation. You shouldn't be spending so much time doing notes. You should be prioritizing the betterment of your patients. Right now, based on our stats, people are doing about 1/3 of their day doing notes. So for every half-hour eval, they're probably spending, or hour eval, they might be spending up to half an hour doing notes for that one specific visit. This is causing clinicians to be burnt out, just like I said. They could potentially see more patients. There's this delay in reimbursement. I know Chris has some crazy stories from his traveling PT days where people would be 30 days behind. It would be end of month would roll around and they haven't done their notes from the first of the month. How does that affect your cash flow? That's brutal. Imagine if you can't collect for 30 days. Like, I couldn't imagine that. If you could get that instantly done point of care, that'd be great. The problem with point of care documentation is you're taking away from the patient. How do we turn that around? Also, we're worried about clawbacks. Medicare is getting tighter and tighter. Insurance in general is getting super tight. They want their money back. So if you're copy and pasting notes from before or changing one word or two word, they're using AI on the other side. Like, unfortunately, we're seeing a large uptick in denials, not for people that use Comprehend, but across the board, and declining reimbursement. I couldn't imagine having 30 days worth of claims denied. Like, that's going to ruin your cash flow. It's brutal. I couldn't imagine. Instead, we see a world where clinicians show up, they put on their, maybe it's the Meta Ray-Bans, and they have a clinical assistant in their ear. Who's my next patient? Jake, okay. Tell me more about him. Frozen shoulder, okay. Is there any good exercise I should do for frozen shoulder? Okay, got it. Let me go see him now. And then they're one-on-one focused exclusively on their patient. Their AI assistant is listening in the background saying, hey, if you make that functional, we can bill higher for it. Okay, cool. We're piping that clinical assistant in their ear, and then at the end of the day, they take off their glasses and they go home. That's the world that we see ahead. And every time, so my girlfriend's a doctor too, and she's in school now, but we're watching this show. I forget what it's called, but it's a doctor show. And I see this guy run around the clinic, and I'm like, gosh, if only he had the Meta Ray-Bans. Like, that's the future that we want to make happen. Imagine if in their eye, they're capturing range of motion. You don't ever have a goniometer. Is that close? Gyno? All right, I'm sharing my not PT skills here, but it's the gynemometer thing. Imagine if instead it's capturing the range of motion right in front of you. Imagine if it's going to calculate your tug score just in real time, right? That's the world that we see ahead, and we're still so early. I mean, this AI stuff is so fresh. It's maybe been around for 2 years, right? That's how long we've been around. Imagine what it's going to look like in 10 years. In 100 years, how is it going to transform the world, right? It's always funny. I love the Thor movies, and they have this crazy technology, but they don't really look at it like technology. It's just part of their life. In reality, I think that's our future ahead. Technology will become transparent. Hands on a keyboard, like looking at a screen, that seems archaic. That's going to seem archaic. Instead, there's just going to be somebody talking to you. And maybe it's the Neuralink. I mean, Elon's got his thing in his head. Like, maybe it's just reading your mind, implanting. That's a little creepy. I think that's a step too far. But imagine a world where your interface with a computer is that. So we started with this platform. This is our Comprehend platform, where you could go and create a visit and record your notes, and that was great. We launched it in November of 2023, and well received by our customers, but the fastest thing that we found was people wanted it to integrate directly with their EMR. People want to be able to have a visit, record a 30-minute session, and click a button, and their note is where it used to be. We need to match their existing behavior. So that's what we built. This is an example of one such EMR. Right now, this is Sharif's EMR. This is Empower EMR. This is where you go. You have to do your notes. It's a very easy-to-use platform. But you have to type. Typing sucks. I don't know. I hate typing. I can't spell worth a crap. So typing's tough. So instead of having to type all this out, spending my half hour, 15 minutes, whatever it is on this note, I activate the Comprehend Chrome extension. And it lives off to the right. And when I hit plus in that top right, it's able to see the patient's name. It's able to see what template type is this. All automatically. It integrates directly with the EMR. And all I have to do is hit record. I hit record, go about my 30-minute session. I'm going to talk about the bills and the draft and all this different stuff from last night, in addition to all the care. And then at the end of the visit, all I have to do is hit comprehend. And within 15 seconds, my note is done, right? Just like that, all done for me. All I have to do is review it, hit submit, and we're good to go. You now have a compliant note, and it's going to sound like you, the clinic owner, if you want it to. And so you know it's compliant. It's not going to sound like the individual clinician. You're very hands-on with how this note should sound. In addition, in real time, they're getting a compliance score. So yeah, we worry about Medicare clawbacks. We worry about things not being said during the visit, whether it's range of motion measurements or maybe the plan isn't strict enough. They're going to get a score. And that score will be like, hey, just so you know, like, you didn't say your range of motion measurements. I know you captured them during the visit. You should say them now so we can write you a more compliant note. Cool. All right, so congrats. Clinic owners here. It's funny, I've done this to investors once in a while where I'll be like, hey, I need you to imagine as though you're a clinic owner. I don't have to say imagine anymore. You're all clinic owners, and you have clinics, and you have clinicians in your clinics. Say each clinician is spending 2 hours a day doing notes. Now, that might be off hours, so maybe these numbers don't reflect exactly, but say a clinician is doing 2 hours of notes. If instead of that, they saw 3 additional patients per day, you could potentially be doing $1 million more in revenue. Every clinician is going to make you an extra $54,000 a year. That doesn't take into account all the intangible benefits of using a tool like Comprehend. And there's other ones out there. Highly encourage you to go do your research, try a bunch out. We're a strong proponent of try them all. We don't do contracts. If we're not serving you, we don't want your money. It's that sort of relationship with us. Don't sign contracts. Just we want to help you and help your clinicians. We want you to be less capacity constrained, right? You probably have a backlog of patients that if you could fill in sooner, faster, you could make more money. Great opportunity there. You're going to see better quality care, right? That no-show after evals. You're really making a personal connection with the patient. You don't have a computer between you and your patient. It's funny, for that specifically, every time I go to my primary care, I get 7 minutes with the doctor, and I swear he spends 4 minutes typing and 3 minutes talking to me. And it's like, dude, like, I get 7 minutes with you. Like, you're gonna really cut that in half because you're doing notes? Hey, how are you doing today? Okay, that's great. Any pain? No, okay. My primary care, it's tough, that's tough. We're combating burnout. So from a retention of employee standpoint, they say a churned employee can cost up to 1.5x their salary. We're talking 60 to 100 grand in a churned employee. Imagine if all of your people are happy and you're able to recruit easier. What does that mean for your clinicians and your clinical staff? I've talked about that delay in reimbursement and the compliance part, right? No more no compliant notes. No more just change one word from last time, just add a sentence. You're getting a unique note every single time that's fully compliant. All right, ended a little bit early, still have a few minutes, still have about 20 minutes, so we'll get some QA. Would love to field some questions about AI, whether it's AI related, whether it's AI related or AI related, whatever you want. Do we have any questions from the crowd? Yeah, go for it.
So with the AI, it helps with
Yeah, we'll get you mic'd up. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to try not to yell into this. Is that good?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. So with AI, it helps with the compliance of the note.
Yes.
Does it help with like billing efficiency and billing compliance as well?
Yes. So we've programmed in all the 7-minute rule. Chris can speak to that specifically, but we have this little chat feature off to the side that will recommend codes with justifications. And so we're going to say, hey, like, you should totally make this functional. You could do, what is it, Therax over Therex? Yeah. It'll help you with things like that and how we can build to get more and what's the right units to be using. And even we can break that down on a per insurance basis. So it's very different, right? Depending on what state you're in, what insurance you're billing, what codes you should be doing, whether it's a 30-minute visit, 45-minute visit. There's a lot of specifics there. The AI will absolutely assist with all of that, giving you recommended codes for a specific insurance.
Tag-along question on that is what data sets fueling that, and to what degree, is it on CMS and
Yes.
local standards, or is to some degree as an owner, there's a gray area in there where you have practice patterns and workflow changes and what you stand for and where you fall on the risk mitigation side of things.
Yes.
So, to what degree do you have control over, this is what I see as what good looks like?
Totally agree with you there. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. There is this line, and this line is here, it's there, it's fugazi. It's up to you to decide how you want to bill.
A lot of it comes back to intention. So if you
Yes, exactly. We are of the strong stance that you guys are going to be smarter than us. For your specific stance, we'll give you recommendations, but in reality, we give you full control over what should be billed where. And so what you'll do is there's these templates that you'll build and comprehend, and you'll say for Blue Cross, I want to build this over this when applicable. I want to build this over this when applicable. And given today's visit, it will give you the best billing optimization for that. Very much driven, though, by you as a clinic owner. Yeah. I saw somebody had a question in the back. Fantastic.
I actually have two questions. So the first one is, and I'm not sure if it relates to what he just asked because I couldn't hear the full question, but so basically it's going to take only what you say, correct? So the words have to be actually said for it to be generated.
It will do a bit of ad lib, right? So if there's specific phrases that you always want to be included or that always have to be there for insurance reasons, those will end up in the note as well. We're going to train it on your existing notes. And so we know the style, the tone, the verbiage that you always use in specific notes, and we're going to reword what was said in a compliant manner. Does that make sense?
Yes. I think part of the example was when you had said, range of motion is missing.
Yes.
So it will prompt you if you didn't say certain things?
Correct. So the compliance score, instead of being an A, it'll be a B or a C based on the probability that you're going to get denied, right? And so if you're in the B range, it might be fine. If you're in the C, probably going to get denied because we can't make things up. We're unwilling to make things up from if it's not in the transcript as far as contextually, information-wise, we're not going to put it in your note. And so there's potential for your objective section to be completely blank. It just might not be there at all. And so you as a clinician, when you're checking over your note, you're going to see you have a C, and maybe you fix it, you say a little extra stuff and redo the objective and you're good to go, or you do write it manually. Those are kind of like, we can't make things up. Yeah.
And question number 2.
Yeah.
What, and maybe a current client can answer this too, what's the learning curve with providers? How long does it take them to fully implement something like this?
Yeah, so we usually do a 7-day trial. And so within 7 days, you're going to see value, and it's going to save you time. As far as complete proficiency goes, what we find is in that first 7 days, we get a power user or 2 or 3 that really love it. And they take it, they take ownership, they really want it, they see the value right away, and they're going to craft the AI in such a way where it's writing notes just like them. What we find is once you've done that process, where you've crafted the AI over 1 week or 2 weeks to sound just like you, the learning curve for every additional clinician is near 0. It's as simple as hit plus, hit record, hit comprehend, and you have your note right in your EMR. That initial learning curve where we're crafting the AI, we're training the AI in your notes, that can take a week or 2 weeks, but after that, every additional clinician, sub 1 hour, if that. Yeah, every clinician could take advantage of the style and tone of you as the owner, or as your... Yes, exactly. Yes. Yes, now they're all writing notes just like your best documenting clinician. Yes. And we train it on the existing notes, and so that's the big thing. Once we have those existing notes in there, and we have the style and tone that one of your clinicians likes, we're going to match that, and you'll be off to the races. Great question. Thank you. Another one. Let's do it.
Can this be used for OT and ST as well?
Yes. We have
Okay.
SLP, OT, Chiro. We have all sorts of rehab disciplines using Comprehend. The main value add ends up being that what EMR are you on? And we find that we are integrated with 24 EMRs, so it's highly likely that we're integrated. But as long as it's, so like for instance, inpatient sometimes use Epic, and we don't integrate with Epic. And so from that stance, it might not be a right fit. But outside of that, anything in rehab, we have a lot of clinicians just in rehab.
Okay, on that same note, customization of billing. So let's say that my clinic,
Yep.
I want only certain codes utilized that are not necessarily just a Medicare compliance issue, but in line with continuity and what we know is
Yep.
beneficial to our practice. Can we implement that as a customization of billing for different disciplines as well?
Yes.
Okay,
So we'll give
excellent.
you, the way it works for us is we have our chat feature, which will give you boilerplate billing, but we also have templated coding. And so what you'll do is define 4 SLPs, this is how you should code, or 4 SLPs on Blue Cross, this is how you should bill. And that will propagate to all
Great.
your users in your clinic. We usually do email-based sharing, and so as long as everybody uses their company emails, everybody at the domain will have access to those templated coding templates.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. More questions, keep them coming.
I have one more for you.
Love it.
Have you been able to test this on mobile devices?
Yes, so you can use it on a phone. We have an iPhone app. You can record your visits all just on your phone. All great, walk around the clinic that way. And at the end of the day, when it's time to do the transfer into the EMR, you either whip out your laptop, or if you're on an iPad, you can do it there too. But it all depends on how mobile compatible is your EMR. And so from that perspective, we still have to transfer it into the EMR. And so certain EMRs are mobile friendly, in which case, yeah, we can work there. Otherwise, at the end of the day, when it's time to do the transfer, you just click on your visit, hit the transfer button, comprehend, and your note's done in 15 seconds.
So you're basically uploading a WAV file from whatever device you recorded it
Yep.
on?
You can use any edge device, so whether it's your phone, your Meta Ray-Bans, your iPad, MacBook, laptop, any of them. Doesn't matter which device you're recording on, just get the audio to comprehend, and then when it's time to put it in your note, we're going to write it for you on that device.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Any more AI questions? Any chat GPT questions? I'm a big chat GPT guy. I have one in the back.
Jake, can you talk a little bit about HIPAA considerations with AI, and if somebody's going to go home and
That's a good point.
hit this up tomorrow for any purpose, whether with Comprehend or they want to hop on ChatGPT, what would you advise them on?
Great point, and I should have mentioned this, but something like ChatGPT is not HIPAA compliant. You need to make sure you're not putting PHI into something like chat. Any free solution won't be HIPAA compliant. Really watch out for that. Comprehend is HIPAA compliant. And so we have a chat feature where you could go and you could talk to a very similar large language model and ask it similar questions, except we're going to give you specifics for physical therapy. We're going to give you specifics about Jake. And so if you want a referral letter or you want a job posting is probably something you could put through chat. But if you're ever going to use it for something like that, be sure to scrub the PHI because, yeah, you can't be putting PHI into something like chat or any other free tool. Anything else you want to add, Sharif? Anything on that?
No, I think this is, you brought this up, but the dichotomy of what you can use ChatGPT for, some of the marketing, the job descriptions. I mean, the hardest part of writing is starting, right? So those are great tools for recruiting. You're going to hear more about that in a little bit and so forth. But for the actual work of, say, documentation, you want to be very careful because the last thing you want is it giving your PHI to somebody else as an answer. Saying, oh, well, the guys at XYZ Rehab said this, and, and then you're thinking, how did it get out there? So big corporations are very nervous about this, like Fortune 500 companies, and have very strict rules about it. So it's also something you need to communicate to your staff about what's an appropriate use, especially if you have savvy people who are just on ChatGPT and hit it up and want to ask it a question. So if you want to ask it a clinical question, great. Just take out the names and be careful with it. I see another question over here. So
awesome. Yeah.
The integration with the home exercise program, is it something you would just say verbally and then you'd be able to get that created?
Yes, that is what we find. So if you're in an EMR like Empower and you have a home exercise box within Empower, we can absolutely generate you a fully dynamic HEP on the fly. And so yeah, we'll have trained it on your existing notes. And so ideally you're going to give us an HEP for somebody with shoulder, ankle, hip, knee, and we're going to use that plus what we can find. We're going to make it very unique to this specific patient. We're going to generate you an HEP on the fly. Any follow on there? Right on. More questions. Keep them flowing. I could talk AI all day, but yeah, shoot.
You've got two patients that are kind of overlapping.
Yes.
How do you
keep them separate?
Yes.
Absolutely. So the question was for something like Comprehend or any tool doing AI Scribe, what happens when you have two patients at the same time? And so what we find is a lot of times for evals, you're one-on-one, it's one patient. So that's easy, just hit record, full 30-minute session. But for a daily note, when you might have 3, 4, 5, maybe not 5, 4 people at the same time, you're switching back and forth quickly. We have built something for that. This isn't my laptop, so I can't go to Comprehend. But you're able to quickly switch between. You do have to click a button if you want to switch between patients. What we find ends up being a little bit more effective is you give a 30-second to 2-minute brain dump about the visit. And so at the end of the visit, you're talking, hey, Jimmy came in, he's making good progress, his range of motion changed from 30 to 55. See, this is where my non-PT stuff comes in. His range of motion changed from 30 to 55, and he's going to continue. He's got 4 more visits, boom. Quick 30 seconds. We're going to do our best to take that quick 30 seconds and turn it into a fully compliant note. We're going to update your old note accordingly. We're going to pull forward any information from before, and it'll all flow in. So that's what we see happen most for if you're seeing multiple patients. Just do a brain dump at the end, and using that 30-second brain dump, we're going to write your compliant note. Otherwise, if you want to switch between them, it's super easy to do that in our app. Oh, geez. Whoops. More questions? Guys, thank you so much for listening. If you have questions, I'll be in the back. But yeah, thanks so much.
All right.
Whoa. Woo! Booming.
Oh, that's okay. That's right, thanks. All right, what takeaways do we have, you guys?
AI is
Anybody?
cool.
Anybody?
ChatGPT is the best.
Jake is a Gen Zer.
Yeah. All of these are valid. Yeah, all good. I'll turn mine off.
Anything, you guys?
No. Bummer. I guess I was too quiet. That must have been it. Yeah, can I get hands for that? Who's using AI now? Love it. We're probably looking at 20%. Primary AI use now from some folks. We got recruiting. Love it. For job postings and that? Yeah, it's fantastic. Chat are you using chat or something else? Yeah, it's the best thing. I call it chat. He's one of my best friends.
What are you using yours for?
So they've just started prompt a little bit in documentation, barely.